When I was 13 years old in the year of 2001, 2001 springtime. I was born on Friday. It so happens I was on summer break. I never, I never touched marijuana. I drank maybe once or twice in my life. And at the age of 13, one of my friends was like, "Do you want to try these mushrooms?" And I'm like, "What are mushrooms?" We go on the internet, we look, we see, okay, you need this much to make someone feel something. So, me and my friends, we're like, whoever is the smallest and the lightest will take them because they're going to feel it the most. I was the short person in the group. So I won on the scale. I was the lightest. We were like, it lasts this many hours. It does this to you. And okay, Chalas. I was like, I'm gonna try them myself. And the weird part was, you know how a magic mushroom grows from the shit of cows. And I went on this bizarre trip through my neighborhood. I was like, I didn't read nothing about, no reggae, concrete jungle shit. I just saw the world around me. I was like, this shit is fake. I want to live like a caveman, like in nature. Instantly, my mind drove me towards there. And the weird part is I was after our crazy bizarre trip, I felt this whole world seemed so fake and alien to me. And I remember I had this distinct memory. I was trying to pull a rock out between a sidewalk, and I wanted to pull the rock out. Like it doesn't belong here, that like something was weird about it. I went on to just look at all the weird brochures in my suburban area. It's all fake. I went to Jack in the Box. I used to just, eat hamburgers. It's okay. But I was high and I was sitting there trying to chew the meat and it wasn't kosher. Something was weird about it. It wasn't halal. It wasn't pure. I was like, I'm literally tripping on this weird stuff that came out of cow shit. Years later, I think about it. And at the time, I tried to eat just a meat hamburger high, and my body was like, no, under this psychological effect or spiritual effect, your body's like you can't be eating meat and enjoying this shit at the same time. It just didn't fit. I'm not even a vegetarian, to be honest with you. I grew up hunting, but in that moment, I was like, there's a natural, like it's not compatible. I found that interesting.
Because it was before a living creature.
Well, on the one hand, it was this. It's that I was only 13 years old. I didn't know nothing about hippies. I was a punk rocker. You know what I mean, man? I saw the world for what it was. It showed me firsthand how fabricated, institutionalized, and industrialized, and like a simulation that isn't like, being a member of planet Earth going backpacking. There was a natural incompatibility. I sat there at Jack in the Box chewing this hamburger like it was a piece of rubber, not disgusted or morally, but it's like under the effects, my body was legitimately like, no, 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 no. This is incompatible with the state of mind you're in. Maybe I can be sober and eat meat, but under the effects, I found myself at odds. I had no reason to believe why I would feel that way. Just that my body was like, no. It just said no.
You think it was because it was Jack in a Box burger, or just because it was meat? Because if it was like a high quality grass fed steak.
No, no, because at that point in life, remember this is the year 2000. I I grew up a kid eating McDonald's chicken nuggets. I grew up eating this stuff. I had no prerequisite to feel a cultural way about any of it, or to worry about. I did learn later in life how important it is to be healthy in this respect. But yeah, no, this was a pure visceral like reality and nature. It's like, yeah, something wasn't lining up.
You know, this dilemma comes to my mind in other aspect where I
Mm.
think about going even through a field of grass. Like, is it right for me to make a new path through the field if there is a path nearby it? Like, is it okay for me to walk on the grass, push it, and in a way, not let it rise and grow because I'm going in its way? So I can see
Hmm.
what you say about the burger, but have you ever thought about this in a more in a bigger scale or in a smaller scale also?
Uh, if you don't mind, when you say about kind of taking a path, are you saying like kind of like taking a new path, not necessarily one that has been taught to you, like dogma? Is this what we're talking about right now?
Yeah, even I can go and see a big field just
Yeah,
in the middle of like you have a sidewalk here, a sidewalk here, here and here, and in the middle you have just a big field of grass. And normally people go on it, people play on it, and people do whatever they want on it, like they do on any other place.
sure.
But when I see it, in a way, it doesn't really feel like the right thing for me if I need to cross from, let's say, this side of the field to this side of the field to go through the grass field. Like it will be more nice in my mind to go over the sidewalk that goes on the edges of it, just to not go on the grass if I don't really have to, because there is something there that is living, that is growing, and I'm not really thinking of,
Oh,
yeah.
well, oh, from that angle, I mean, on the one hand, there is that weird thing of trying to explore the unknown, is that you may step on people you don't realize you're stepping on,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And if you go with the chosen path, it's humbling because it's not like I'm the best, I'm number one. I have to find my own way, even if it hurts someone. I can feel you on that. There is something to be said for, when it's like, dude, I'll explain it to you in terms of artwork. There's times that because I grew up like classically trained, like using my eye, no rulers or stencils. There was a time when I was making artwork that, out of the sake of even training my own body to be precise, I refused to use rulers or stencils. I will spend 30 more hours trying to figure this shit out, freehanding it before I pick up a ruler or a thing. Almost at some point, it became a training reason to become very able. But at some point, it was like, I was like, fuck it. No shame. I have no pride in it. It was like, at some point, I realized sometimes the earlier process means you need to go through the grass a bit more, in my opinion. And then, and when you discover what that can give to you, you don't have to keep pushing it and going against the norms. And then you can kind of just take those skills back and be a little more, reasonable.
When you go through the unknown enough, there is a path, and then you can just go in this new path and not go on the sides of it where things are still growing.
Exactly, man. Yeah, that's always been a big thing for me. You come to understand. Sitting there measuring, using ruler. There's all these reasons to be able to embrace everything, not to be so traditional or so new age. Maybe there was a time for me, like, seeing a digital artist, I'm like, fuck, you're getting away for free. I'm sitting here fucking slaving and pushing and blah blah blah, and then you just go like da 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 da. I know all the codes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but you have such amazing messages. You have intellectual ideas and property that get explored in beautiful ways. You've developed language, a system to explore these things regularly so that every day you can come out with a new idea. And it's a different feel than the traditional artist sitting there carving, meticulous craftsmanship.
As a traditional artist, you have really pushed the limits of compositions. And I think this is very unique. Nowadays, you use rulers and any kind of assistant ways, or is it pure you making every single line?
Yeah, for me, mainly it's that. And there have been times, um, like, I don't even know if I want to take it there, but there's been times I'm working on a painting where I think this is gonna go to people, like like yeah, by the way, when you do your podcast, do you use a green screen? No? Uh, okay. Like there's been times where it's not so much about measuring, or using those tools, because sometimes, there are paintings that lend itself to certain symmetry, and they provide an artist with a bit of time to like be zen, where I don't want to be so chaotic. But I will say, personally speaking, what kind of made me think, okay, on the one hand, I've spent obsessive details like on crazy paintings that take, hundreds of hours to carve like the finest things, from like using sanding tools and branching out, not necessarily being confined to a brush, but like using like all sorts of, I don't know. There's a lot of intricate details that are better left to understand in person. Now, where I found myself changing my methodology so that I don't waste time is like when I'm working on something like this. Like, there were a bunch of Mexican people trying to get away from Mexico to Los Angeles. And, I was like, fuck all my fancy, intricate, detailed type stuff. I want to do something good. I want to make it beautiful, and I wanted to help people in real time. Like, for like the Angels of LA, they would leave water buckets for people fleeing from Mexico to California, and they were starving in droughts at the time. And so I make these paintings specifically for donation. But the thing I had to try to kind of understand was that instead of spending like crazy hours, you know what I mean, with just ruthless details, um, that have everything to do with interpersonal pursuits. Like this one, the one that you like this week, Yoni. This is a beautiful just display of me appreciating and enjoying all the elements. And it has nothing to do with, trying to get something out there to the people. It has everything to do with overindulging in like microscopic level details. And this is a big painting, man. It's 4 feet by 4 feet, But like the closer you get, It's like
It looks
it's
3D.
it's stupid how precise every little microscopic line is. You know what I mean? Like I can I can lose myself in all these beautiful details, man. And it is a beautiful thing when you're there in the mix with it. It is it's like you wake up and you go to bed every day thinking about the painting you're making. And I'll sit in my bed, I'll just keep painting in my head. Just fucking like doing lines and layers and then I'd wake up the next morning like jumping out of bed like I need to do more, you know? I'm
Like
not sure.
reading a good book.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You know, when you get so excited, you wake up the next day, you're like, oh my God, I have to keep reading. I have to find out what happens next. Yeah. To the point, sometimes reading a good book, I'd be like through painting right now. I want to just finish Philip K. Dick's novel or something.
I
Who's
said you use a lot of symbols in a way very abstractly when talking about elements, and in a way very realistically when talking about Mexicans and going through a border. Do you think that we make symbols, or symbols are something that we discover?
um I mean, I think it, at best it is both, you know? And I think I find it hilarious when anyone thinks that they thought of the thing. It's always everyone that we have accumulated from our past, depending on how we were brought up, or how we were raised, and that we are all borrowing ideas in an ever going stream of evolution. Um, and that it's hard to truly own anything. But yes, I have created my own symbols and sigils too. And but I do realize keenly that they are even if I don't know it at the time, when I've actually written my own letters, sometimes there's no description. Sometimes you're not sure why. But like this one, for example, I didn't consciously give it like a linguistic, so to speak. But when I'm subconsciously writing, I write both left to right and right to left. And due to the necessity of painting for so many years, I
Man, those
started,
details.
thank you, bro. I started painting, dude, because I was like so obsessed. I started painting with my left and right hand.
Can you put a finger next to all those trees just to have a? Oh man, that's ridiculous.
Oh, thank you, man.
Whew.
I mean, you know how big this painting is?
Now I know.
It's like 6 feet tall. I'm so appreciative that you enjoy all these microscopic bits too. You know.
Man, to get into the level that you can use lines and the size of brushes that you use and the fat, like outstanding. Can you walk us through this painting?
Um, yeah. So this painting I call DM Totem, DMT Totem, and it was my first trip with dimethyltryptamine. I was about, let's say, 20 years old, 21. It must have been 2008, 2009, and it was led by this dude I knew, and he had a really cool, interesting story. Clearly he was the hookup, you know. He was like, "You're gonna be terrified to your core for the first 5 minutes, but just be patient and everything will be okay." And I'm like, "All right, Miles, I understand." And so he throws Ravi Shankar on, and um, I never heard Ravi Shankar in my life with the sitar and the tabla. And before I know it, within the first 5 minutes, the music stopped making sense. It sounded like it just became white noise, and I saw my face disintegrate. And I was like, "Who? What? Where? Why? How?" Like I didn't even know my name. I was so terrified, and I broke down into this horrible white noise, and this deity, who I now believe to be nickel. Now, if you're familiar, this is later, after the fact. Nickel etymologically means demon, and nickel happens to be the main element at the center of the earth. Now, the weird part is, in this trip, I no longer remembered who I was. I was removed from planet Earth, as far as I was aware. And this thing, this horrible laughing creature, was breaking down all of reality, saying all human culture and history is nothing. I break you down into simple math equations and molecules. You are, I don't even know I exist at this point. He is breaking down all of human history into basic chemical and atomic parts. And I was fucking terrified. And this was within 5 minutes of my first trip. And he's laughing there. He has one hand over his head, and his bottom jaw is removable. He's like a big gluttonous skeleton. And I believe this is what I believe is the demiurge, a true source of all intellectual reason without any emotional reciprocity at the core of the earth. That is just pure materialistic atoms at the most subatomic level. So, first 5 minutes in, I fucking look up or down. Actually, I was in outer space. I look down and I see planet Earth. And I'm like, holy shit, my name is Ron. I'm in Berkeley. I'm in a house. I just smoked dimethyltryptamine, and holy fuck, am I happy to be alive. And I watched myself fly back to Earth, like, dude, and I was in my bed, and I jumped up with a huge smile on my face. I looked around the room, and I saw a weird grid of yellow and purples. I thought, wow, reality, you're fucking boring. I've never heard Ravi Shankar before. I'm going to close my eyes again. So I did. And I watched this huge, insanely nefarious space come apart in the form of cubes. I didn't represent it as I saw it. But once the cubes disassembled from this weird, sterile white room, I went into this beautiful crystalline forest where all these wild lotus, astral, celestial things started to bloom. And at this point, I'm with Ravi in the raga, and I have my eyes closed. I'm swimming through this forest, and before I know it, I jump into the water, and I become this creature swimming, listening to the beautiful rhythms and harmonies, and I jump out of the water and I become a horse and I'm galloping over land. And then I jump into the air and I become this bird and I'm spiraling through this kind of like it's a bunch of eyes in the heavens. And as soon as I go into the center of that light, um, I like legitimately stop tripping just like that. It's the end of the song, and my visions are gone, and I'm just like so happy to be alive. And then a girl jumped on me and gave me a kiss on the face. You know, go figure.
Epic.
My technically it was my second time trying DMT.
Oh wow. And how was it compared to the first time? The first time also was such a big breakthrough.
Well, okay, so the first time was a microdose,
Hmm.
and I was listening to the song. Uh, you dude, okay, so this one gets really weird, actually.
I don't see you.
Okay, hold on. I'm looking for what is that Radiohead song? I think it's from Kid A. It's the last song of Kid A with clarinets. Is anyone listening? Do 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 do. All right. I believe it is motion picture soundtrack. Anyways, okay, man. Are you a fan of Radiohead or no? By the way.
Not that I know any songs of them, like by
Okay.
name.
So not important. So this is the weird part about my first trip, dude. I was I was very inundated with caring about stuff, punk rock, before I ever entered into the hippie field. That has always kind of been like at my forefront, and I remembered, I was like, I was doing a lot of like essays and lots of reading, and luckily the art school I went to had like a lot of like UC Berkeley professors and like they had some like really high names and shit like that. And I was always plagued with this thing of trying to figure out something, do something right. And this is where my first DMT trip gets weird, is because I was hanging out in UC Santa Cruz at the time, and I had a lot of friends who grew up with privilege, like I did as well, socioeconomically speaking. And I'd remembered I showed up at this party with a couple of high school friends, and uh, they were watching this show called Gang Wars, and these are well-to-do, upper middle class kids going to a liberal arts, college, and perhaps it's my own upbringing. We can share in some of those controversies of like actual violence and things like of this nature. But I saw them watching this documentary, and I thought, look at all you privileged fuckers. You're sitting here laughing at their videos, gang wars, where they see riots of people, black, white, whatever, gang, Mexican, black, it doesn't matter, right? They're just giant mobs of people fighting. I'd seen what happened in Australia when a bunch of Lebanese people went there as refugees, was fighting with a bunch of white, or European Australians. Like, I'm like, I looked at them all. I literally was so pious at the time, being young and being really politically invigorated at the time. was like, man, look at you, look at all you upper middle class fucking kids sitting here, fucking indulging at other people's exploitation and violence. Like whack, you know. Everyone's like, ah, like fuck you or whatever, you know. And I'm like, ah, well, Ron's always talking shit about this stuff. He grew up that way. That's the way he fucking is. And so I end up going. I smoked dimethyltryptamine for the first time, a small dose, right after this whole weird fucked up thing that had happened. And and the trip was interesting. It felt like I was in like Super Mario, like a side scroller. And I was listening to this Radiohead song with beautiful clarinets, I believe at the end of Kid A. And it was kind of like that was interesting. Anyways, I had left my phone at the house. My friend and me had to go. We were just visiting from LA. I wasn't going to art school in the Bay Area yet. My friends were going to school in the Bay Area, and and we were just on the move doing our thing. I had to go get my phone back from the house. So, so like in these videos, you saw gangsters going at it, right? On the screen, and I'm like, look at all you people so fucking desensitized, laughing at the misery other people get propelled into due to the awful state of fucking social operating systems and earth-based fucking culture and dichotomies. And and when I run back up to the house, it was surreal. It was like I was looking in the living room window where all those kids were watching TV. But now I was in the front patio and I was looking through the front window of the house, and there were random giant strangers and gangsters beating the shit out of these poor college kids. And I'd missed the bullet. I was like, what the fuck? What am I watching right now? It was like a meta. You know, like they were sitting there inside watching it on TV. I leave for 1 second to just get my phone. I come back and these people are like, you know, it's like that kind of aggressive violence that you only grow up with on the streets, you know? And I'm sitting there, my pupils become like tiny fucking pinpoints and I go pale. And all these giant fucking gangsters walk out of the fucking house and I'm like, please don't hit me. And they didn't even, somehow I got away with it. I walk in the house, my friends stumbling in between the hallways. And I'm like, I grab my phone and I'm like, I'm out of here. I am fucking out of here. Um, but my first DMT trip has this weird implication with social reality. And just to caveat on these weird kind of future seeing things, I had this other trip when I was in Oakland, being that I was very inundated with reading about like political stuff and kind of seeing a through line between, you know, the hippie revolution, expansion and tolerance and caring and actually catering to where we live and like these sorts of things. I never saw a differentiation, you know. It's kind of like the House of Terrence McKenna, I think, you know, versus like Ram Dass, who caters to your own peace and ability. Terrence McKenna is always out there looking at like social inequities and trying to like see that thing. And um, where the hells was I going with this again? Oh, right, time traveling, weird fucking thing. So, one of my earlier DMT trips, since that huge breakthrough, which I shared with you in that painting, was another heavy trip I decided to endure. And I was listening to Alice Coltrane's Lord of Lords, Andromeda. It's a heavy track. And the first time, you know, I used to like dark psychedelia, you know, I love Tool. You know, like I know we talked about dark science stuff, kind of like going to those weird places in your mind. Um, and I was listening to Alice Coltrane's Lord of Lords, which is a classic 60s album. John Coltrane's wife. It's like ancient Egyptian harp type stuff, really out there and really dark. And the first time I listened to it while smoking DMT, I was looking at my Jimi Hendrix poster in my wall back when I lived in Oakland, and I saw him turn into a bunch of black serpents all over my room. He spread out all over my room, these crazy black serpents. What did that make me think of? Medusa. I never thought about it at the time. But within recent years, I took ketamine. I listened to that same song and I saw the Statue of Liberty turn into Medusa. Think about it. Statue of Liberty is like, we want to go out and chase all the sea monsters. We're fighting for people's liberties, and now we're Statue of Liberty guy. We're going out. We always find someone to call the terrorists, even though we blew up our own shit. We fuck up our own shit. We're always out there looking for new places to put our thing. And I couldn't have imagined, man, over we're talking from 2009 to like 2000 like 24, 25, to have this like resurgence of trying to understand this whole Medusa complex. Cassiopeia was strapped to rocks. She was forced and victimized, turned into a scorned human being, only to go out and hurt people. And it seems to be a huge thing when it comes to like um uh kind of passing the torch of abuse, you know. um So that was my first DMT trip.
You had psychedelic experiences from a young age. Have you made art even before you had any psychedelic experience?
Great question. I used to like doing like designing side scroller video games. I grew up with my dad just shooting a bunch at the range and hunting. So I used to like drawing guns, and actually, my first art came out of existential crisis from 13 because I was so depressed. Like I didn't even have context, man. I liked punk rock, you know. I understood some things about this, but I was like, I just want to like go live in a cave again. I don't know what all this extra bullshit's about. And actually, between that and feeling alienated from how I can communicate with other folks, I started making art out of that existential pain and crisis.
And how was your first art that came from this existential crisis?
Dude, oh man,
Do you still have it?
the one I want, I can't find it, but it's so in my head. Maybe I'll make it again for fun, you know?
The painting that started it all.
But here's the deal, man, is like, even though I started out with this existential crisis, you know, some of like the invaluableness of exploring the depths of our potential psyches, it's so immense, you know? I mean, it's really crazy though that yeah, you know, I used to just copy Dragon Ball Z pictures. And then I found myself socially at odds. And that's yeah, you know. I was like, yeah, that's it's weird that it comes from those painful places, only to bring me closer to people ultimately, right? Like find some way to, you know. And you know what, like at some point, I don't even think I was that socially unable, but that is where it started, you know, being an alienated little one. And
You consume things or you make things?
I think yeah, I mean like otherwise, you can sit and observe. You can observe. You can but you know, making things can also be a good like. You can be a good teacher. You can be a good guide, and uh, yeah, I mean, I think I would be more, you know, because we've been talking about like lights, like things that have fallen into place that have to do with future telling. I mean, like you would be surprised how psychedelics can allow you to go see what the hell's on Joseph Biden's desk for a moment in time, for example, and then you're like, oh, look at all these executive orders he's been signing to subjugate Latinos coming in the country. Now, no one knows about it. I did back then because when I decide to dip or go deep or take ketamine or do those things, I'm also doing a little bit of that fucked up shit. I come to find out this is the case. Only when Donald Trump gets elected, you see them executing the laws. You know, he's the he's the stooge signing it. He's the guy executing. I can go into those routes, but I was also curious about just exploring some of these trips outside of all this worldly shit. I mean, I get almost exhausted sometimes being so like, you know, inundated, but uh yeah, I'm curious. What was like from your perspective when you first saw my art? Where did you think my head was at
Hmm.
from then till now?
I think when I saw your art and when I still see it, I see that your head goes from um, details and precision to super abstractions, and use details to map those abstractions. And even your abstractions are super details, like we can see in the painting you showed us with the whole dimethylamine trip, that even the circle at the bottom where your
Mm.
trip started, even when I look at the boundaries of that circle, you can see how detailed that abstraction is to give the sense of how deep it actually was. So I really see your art going through abstractions to details in very intelligent way, and it comes really nicely to the my next question, that where is the limit, and what is your tool to see that what you see is actually what you see when you go into a trip and you find yourself in maybe at this time in another place or in another place in another time, to really know that this is what actually was happening in this timeline, and it's not something that is just an hypothetical timeline. Because when I had a dream 2 nights ago, I was in Japan. Was amazing. I am sure that the possibility that I was in Japan and had that specific experience. So I was about to say that when I go into a dream or anything that has the sense of it, usually it looks to me like a timeline from the potential of timelines. And you had some experiences that sounds like they actually were happening this timeline in another place. So how do you, for you, see that this is actually in this timeline? Because why did it connects to the way I see art is when starting to look at abstractions, abstractions start to really also the path someone goes between being awake to dreaming or being awake to experience another place. And your art have really this extra dimensionality of being in more than one place at one time.
You know what? I didn't expect you to go that route with it, and I think the fairest wave or the fairest way to describe it is like it's very subjective and it's like time wave zero. And I think for a lot of us, um, some of these cool synchronicities about my use of psychedelia is because I have put in this groundwork to be invested. You know what I
Is because
mean?
what?
Is because okay, what where do we crisscross in life? There are personal, microcosmic, as well as macrocosmic reasons for any of us choosing to use psychedelics to kind of come to a realization about ourselves. It's like time wave zero, destiny and fate co-align. And sometimes they're positive messages, sometimes they're negative. But usually, I think when people get realized, they start to recollect all those ancient dreams and things they couldn't have imagined they would be invested in. But like I said, so like for me, growing up kind of punk rock, when World Trade Center happened, by the way, being that I'm 11, I didn't know about all this stuff with Palestine and Israel yet for 5 years, actually, but I was invested just as a person. I was writing essays about, the bad stuff America did during the Vietnam War to the Vietnamese people. I was just invested. I was inundated with it. And, you sit there studying and long enough, writing theses, doing this shit, and ideas come to you that you're like, I if I'm sitting there researching and indulging, I'm not trying to look at Joseph Biden's desk. But sure fucking enough, my crazy mind's like, let's find out what's going on with ICE and executive orders or civil forfeiture lawsuits where they're taking everyone's shit throughout Georgia, Atlanta, and the rest of like south of the United States over silly things like a catalytic converter, or how that would pertain to all sorts of other extraordinary things. Where I've got to say, man, when it comes to depicting and transposing psychedelic spaces, you're never, n- few artists are going to express the accuracy of what those dimensions enable us with, right? We can see dope artwork that relates to certain forms. And in some cases, the beauty is that when you are spending enough time in those spaces, you actually start to realize that not all your crazy, wild visual ideas are yours, that you're actually getting a shared information database where in more recent trips, having spent more time on Instagram, I started to notice, wow, this is this individual's imagination being shared with me. Oh my God, this is this individual's artistry and imagination being shared with me. How cool! I'm listening to this guy's music, and I'm seeing a whole visual idea that isn't mine, that they are expressing in deep spaces, and that it doesn't matter. You don't work for Hollywood, you don't have a production company, but if you're actively sitting there weaving together ideas, um, they're there for other people to enjoy. And one of the coolest things about making music is just how much it fucking lends itself to you creating impossibly cool ideas and images. And I yeah. Go
When
ahead.
you talk about music now, it comes to my mind that you're also a musician. And when you paint, does it feel more like architecture or more like sound design?
Um, well, I gotta say, for the longest time, I was just so enveloped in making artwork, waking up, going to bed every night, thinking about, ooh, what can I do here? What can I do that? If I'm not actively standing, I'm thinking about what I would do when I was. And this is the funny part is I used to tease all my musician friends saying, you guys are always busy editing and producing. All I get to do is listen to music every day. I'd wake up every day. I would have a playlist, man. It's like I sprung out of bed knowing I'm listening to this. Oh, and then I'm gonna listen to that, and this, and that, and so like every day, art almost became an excuse for me to just listen to music constantly. And actually, sometimes you get caught up in a painting. You made the idea. Now you're just sitting there rendering. It's not necessarily as fun, but you're getting to the vision, to the end goal, and then it would become all about the music. So I kept developing the music, and then at some point, I'm like, yeah, you know what? you know, I want to I want to get me a nice big piano bench. I want to get me a drum kit. I want to sit there and make the thing. And the coolest part about making music is that um, uh, different than art is that when you're sitting there, you're drumming and playing for hours, you don't even really need to look at anything. And you close your eyes and you start to have this whole world of visions open up to you on that end. To literally where there's times where my eyes were closed and I would watch like my piano light up in colors and like my fingers would know where to go. And like I'm not even looking, like this is some pineal gland shit. And the visions it created. When it comes to my music Rolodex, I'm shortened. Even if you're not making art, if you're just laying down in your bed and enjoying some of my musings in the right state of mind, you can totally tap into my visuals because I would sit there ruthlessly for hours listening to my music and kind of creating like these visuals, like sonic architecture, um, and that back and forth, man. When you're able and you're making music and art, I would be listening to my music while I'm painting and I'd have all these ideas, and so I'd run back to my studio over here, fucking cha 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 cha, and then I'd listen to more music while I'm making art. It was a really good feedback loop when it was able. Now my computer's so messed up. Freaking,
Have
um,
making art and composing art and really dive deep into that kind of creation have made your main art painting any better?
um,
Doesn't have to
um,
be about the quality of the coloring, or can be also only in the perception side of
yeah, I
visualize.
mean, dude, because of the music and the process, it lends itself to thinking divergently because music isn't always so linear, when you're jumping around, especially when you look at like awesome like electronic artists, there's lots of weird segues. You're like, oh my God, how did you end up here from there? And um um when I was doing my thing, I found actually that okay, so my artistic time becoming left-handed, right-handed paper also translated to playing piano and drums, so that they would feed the same possibility on the ableness level. And uh actually, this is the weird segue, is rather than the music going back and catering to artwork, the music unearthed a Rolodex of movie ideas, but also inventions, actual conceptualizing like inventions and stuff, useful ones too. Uh, it's like they're all creative fields, you know, music, art, flow, dancing, singing, or even creating utilitarian inventions. Being like, well, how can I help the earth this time spiders forward? What could I actually make? If I was in a boardroom with the Elon Musk or mechanical engineers, could I realize some of these amazing inventions I've concocted? And so listening to music has created movie concepts that, you know, I'm not a director. I'm not rich. I don't actually plan on making movies, and then, but I do feel like in the imagosphere that under the right context, you can lay down and listen to my music and have some really cool images come to mind that are coming straight from my mind. I do believe this from us. Yes. Yeah, because you know, when I was ingesting these things and doing that, I was far more like allergic to share minds with people. I was much more shy than like where I find myself today.
Where is the difference? Because when you make an art piece and you share it to the world, does it have any difference when sharing a track or an album?
No, I think more on a personal note to where what kind of drove me to be an artist was a lot of social inferiority complexes and insecurities, and then art making it all the day, having hang out with friends, being able to sit there and evaluate. Well, when was I just like people pleasing, and when was I a good friend? Or when did I decide to tell everyone I just want to make art and do my own thing? Going through the motions of becoming like a hardcore artist practitioner broke me out of my shell to where I felt free, like I don't care anymore. Now I'd go on the streets, I would go anywhere and not feel an ounce of like insecurity or doubt or fear towards people. That it actually made me stop, like, you know, so, like, the social ineptitude brought me into art, but it also saved me from all those feelings to where I can share openly. And then I realized in the imagosphere, when I was on psychedelics as a youngster, it felt very insulated. Now it seems I'm sharing an imagination database with lots of people, and I'm more connected to other people. Yeah, I guess, does that make sense?
Yeah,
What about you, man? How old were you the first? I mean, do you talk about this? Are you safe? Are you good to talk about this?
I will share more in another talk with you.
All right, man. You know, it sucks that people can't be open about this sort of shit, man.
Do you think that different genres give to you different view when you see them in your mind's eye, when you see their geometry, when you see their psychological space? Like, is it defined by genre or is it purely by the composition that can come across through? You can play, let's say, the same composition with, if I play this composition with those kind of sound design, and I play the same composition with, let's say, very different distinct sound design, will it give the same emotional space and feeling because they're both sharing the same ratios in a way? Or does it add another kind of a difference between genres in your opinion?
A lot of the times I find when it comes to music, that has messages and context that, sometimes the most pop music, it shares on a contextual basis similar themes of the human condition,
Hmm.
inescapable human condition. And sometimes it comes down to the aesthetical, chemical inference you want to flow with. Do you want to feel adrenalized, electrified, empowered, emotional? I mean, sometimes the driving gear with music doesn't have much to do with what they're saying all the time, as much as the yeah, that tactile wave it can kind of bring you, uplift you, pull you down. Do you want to be sad? Like, are you trying to be in a sad place right now? Are you just looking at the situation like a joke? Yeah, I mean, it could take so many forms, it's like, well, it's broad daylight. I'm not trying to listen to black metal right now. Maybe I'll wait till I'm tired at 1 a.m. to listen to fucking crazy black metal. you know? Um,
Is
what do you,
complexity in music important to you? Because when I look at your art, I can see, crazy details and crazy
right?
textures and crazy landscapes. And, you know, so much things are morphing and becoming back to nothing and exploding. And is it something that is also important in the music that you choose to listen to in general while you paint? Or do you think that sound by itself is containing all of those things? So it doesn't really matter as long as you hear it.
Dude, oh my gosh. Music, it fills, it fills so many holes. All of the above and below. Plain and simple, man. Plain and simple. Sometimes it's like if it goes in one ear, you like it, and you make something out of it out the other. It could be simple as shit, but if it's authentic, yeah, like, you can vibe with it.
Hmm.
Would I listen to it every day to feast my crazy sensations? Not necessarily, but can I enjoy it? Like sometimes, some good, just light blues, like Lightning, Hopkins and Lead Belly, or some ancient blues. Yeah, yeah. There's a bit of nostalgia. There's always like rules of engagement, but yeah. I mean, when I'm busy in the work studio on hyperspeed, I mean, I could be listening if I'm doing a more politically arranged piece. I'm listening to some like hardcore, you know, political type, highly musically able stuff. If I'm just painting psychedelia, I'm listening to like crazy like fusion fucking like death metal Slavic fucking Mongolian throat singing machination of anything you can believe. I mean, damn, I'm getting so excited. I just want to give you music recommendations right now. To be true with you, most of the time I just want to tell people you should like this guy, you should like that guy. You know, I was like,
You should definitely send me a list and I will add it to the underline of the video.
I will say, okay. So first of all, are you familiar with John Zorn? Okay, so Jonas, this is where I think, this is where I feel excited to share with you certain things. Okay. And there's a lot of really, really, really cool music out there in the world, and I love them all from everywhere. And in terms of, anyways, say hi to Kingdom.
Hi,
Hi,
Kingdom.
hi Kingdom. Say hi to this crazy machination. We
Super
love,
crazy.
dude. We love geometry. We love crazy geometry, and so Okay, so this guy John Zorn, he's from Greenwich Village. He is a jazz saxophone man. He has produced an insane Rolodex of music. Um, he is an American Jew, and he deals with extremely, extremely technical, high end music that has everything to do with the spiritual. He talks about Gnosticism from anywhere and everywhere you can fathom. Judeo Christianity, to be exact, first and foremost. He works with some of the most proficient, high end musical magies known to man. And he has like over 100 albums
Oh
dealing
wow.
with all sorts of ancient mystic incantations, real cool ass gypsy style tunage. He, like I said, he has a whole series called Masada that is dedicated and devoted to Jewish mystic music. And no one on planet Earth actually makes music like him. But
Oh wow.
his music seems more anciently in tuned than I got all these from Amoeba Records. But you can actually go on iTunes Apple now and get his music. Um and I will tell you, man, when it comes to like having some good like music for the daytime, this guy, dude, look, he's on some like really, really weird ass like he's smart. It's not just the music. Intellectually, he's a powerhouse of knowledge and ancient wisdoms. Anyways, music nerd time. Uh, what else can I share with you? The Masada series, man, it's fucking insane. Secret Chiefs 3, if you're familiar with Secret Chiefs 3, I mean, this stuff is so underrated. And dude, if you pick up like I didn't even show you half my fucking Rolodex of his work, but um yeah, he'll make you feel like holy shit, I think I just went back a few thousand years, on a music cultural front. And I honestly like I would wake up like every day to paint just to sit here and nerd out on their music. And one day I just thought, fuck it, fuck it. Go online. I get this object for free.
Oh wow.
And so this is what I did to make a lot of my tunage. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just kind of an underling to these other people that are kind of like controlled it down. But I had my time in the sun. My drum kit's kicked in. I have a lot of stuff I've been working on the internet, and I think it's really cool that um, there are people out there who aren't confined, to do one thing or the other, and but for some people, it's like shit. You gotta constantly worry about paying a bill. Some people they have no choice. I want to do this. I want to make music, but I'm kind of I'm kind of like I have to just pay bills and I have to make more art. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to like take time away from producing so much so very valiantly, right? Trying to make sales is crazy. For me, I'm at this point I would love to know that people listen to my music and paint because there's a lot of hours there.
I think what comes to my mind, and you have said it, that aunti- words, Aun- authenticity. Yeah, to being authentic is the most important aspect to what you like in music. And when we're speaking about authenticity in music, it really comes to my mind the vision about a tree. And like in a forest, you have many trees, and trees influence other trees to grow and to grow even higher than other trees because the other trees are putting shades over them, and those trees wants to have sun too. So without those
Ah,
other trees, they don't have the need to grow. But at the same time, a tree have his branches and the branches have branches and so on until you have leaves. And when I'm looking about authenticity, I look at authenticity as a tree. And a lot of people that are inspired by a tree are not becoming their own tree, usually. They are
mm,
becoming a branch of a tree. And when someone is influenced by the branch, so he's becoming a branch of the branch until you have someone that is a leaf of a tree. But is
hmm.
he authentic, or is he just part of the tree and the tree is authentic? Because usually people can go into their very narrow path that in a way is authentic to them, but it is influenced, and if they haven't made anything new in the field they are
Right.
working in, is it still authentic work?
Well, you know what? What you described for me, it takes a little too much work. What I mean by this is that so I'm geeking out, thinking, oh my God, the music I could share with this motherfucking dude right now, and loving all that hardcore stuff I love. I also love fucking singing like a woman, listening to Portishead. I've always loved all the music. I've listened to it in my garage. I've listened to it indiscriminately. Every fucking genre you can possibly comprehend, I've loved. And sometimes overthinking your branches and your leaves and shit. And oh, I want to make heavy, hardcore music like those guys I love. No, I love, being beasted out and mashing to them. But for whatever reason, the moment I'm sitting there at the piano or music, whatever is coming to me is coming to me. My music pales in comparison to all the other music I love in some respects. Um, in terms of aesthetics, it's like it's almost weird because it's like you thought I would have gravitated towards screaming or being like wild, like in this way, but no, no, my music wrote itself. And it's like a relief. It's like, fuck, I can't recite. You know what? I suck at copying people. I suck at copying pictures. That's why I didn't become an animator. I couldn't reproduce my signature, let alone a picture. I'm like actually mentally like divergent in a way where it's like it's hard for me to reproduce other people's shit. It's actually a challenge. So for me, I'm like novelty and authenticity is great. And you will like even if some of it sucks and it's not technically good or hopefully the sound quality is good, but you will find out with my music it's like yeah, I'm on some other fucking planet, which is good. It's good. It may not be catchy, it may not be relatable, but whatever it was, it came out, bro. I couldn't have made it up, you know. Sometimes it takes like too much, like, you know, like when I was a kid, when I was particularly insecure as a kid, I might recite, you know, looking in my bathroom mirror. What am I going to say to this guy? What are they going to say to me? What am I going to say next? You know, like I got over that shit. It was too much work. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to say. It's just, I don't want to think that hard, man. I think I'm too stupid to think that hard at some point. Does that make sense? You know, have you ever been that guy in a mirror saying, well, how am I going to respond? And how are they going to respond? And
I myself really enjoy to have a lot of hypothetical dialogues, just
yeah.
seeing that I'm not drifting apart too much and into too uh, specifically paths that ain't a happy place, because
Mm.
usually we can really escalate situation and see how we have a good comeback when things are escalating. So when I see that my mind goes to this, I get like, okay, I have thought about this enough. Okay, but I really like to um, find solutions to deep desires that I want to express, and sometimes it takes for me time to think about. So those are things that are in my mind, they are my desires, and I think about them to how I can express them, and then it comes a lot into many aspects of dialogues. So
Actually, that's a great point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess it's like there has to be a healthy cutoff point, kind of where
mhm.
you know you resolve
And
a thing and you're
when
good.
it's not overthinking, and overthinking, I think that this is a very specific term for looping, because I don't think that you can overthink if you have what to think about it. But if you every time think, let's say, from 0 to 1, and you need to think from 0 to 2, and you every time only thinks from 0 to 1, you will eventually just feed yourself in a feedback loop that doesn't stop between 0 to 1. But if you one time think about it from 0 to 2, you can let it go. And it's not really letting it go, just this is what you had to think about it. And if you have thought about it, you don't have what to think about it more, because you thought what you had to think about it.
And you know what? When you are looking at artwork, do you ever have these sort of psychological conversations that are in visualized in some because you like some of these detailed chaotic works? Do you find yourself in your thought process?
Definitely.
Is it
When I look at
helpful?
a painting, definitely I go back and forth between what I'm seeing and how it have a part of a bigger picture, and then looking at the bigger picture takes me back to the sums of it, and then the sums of it can show me a new thing, it can take me to another aspect of the bigger picture. But I'm not just looking at it, nice picture, nice detail, and that's it, because then I can look at it over and over and over. But I'm not saying that there is an end for it, but possibility, if I want to see the whole thing as it is, I need to be able to examine every part of it. So if I can examine every part of it and see its relation, I won't be need to do it again. Hypothetically, if someone will do it good enough, generally, he could live his life without ever thinking, because he thought what he had to thought in every context. But this is very more hypothetically.
I mean, do you, okay, yes, yes. It is weird how like, yeah, man, you know, even with like these insanely complex pieces, one little fucking dot, you know, like sometimes I get so sick of looking at these artworks because I start to see that one little motherfucking dot that's not supposed to be there. Like my
Hmm.
shit's insanely complicated, and yet there's just that one damn spot. I'm like, you are a flaw, and I don't know how you are a flaw, and it's so visceral. But do you find ever, if you are meditating about real like life stuff or social dilemmas, Do you ever find sitting in with a painting that is abstract, it helps you navigate your own personal mind and psychic
Mhm,
feedback?
mhm, mhm. Oh, it's a wonderful question. Yeah, actually, not as a tool that I'm using for it, but as a person that really enjoy creativity, especially towards unique compositions, I find myself usually immersed in very well composed art, even if it's just the background of my computer. And a lot of the time that I'm just sitting in my room, I will have my computer in front of me with complex composition of fractals, or a painting of Dali behind it, or even my acoustics in the room that have some kind of patterns on them,
Yeah.
that in a way those patterns are very simple, but the practice of having them in my sight is giving me something to have my perception on it for a longer time, because it has some kind of a depth, even if it doesn't, flat can look very depth if you have some kind of points in it that can, for some reason, a bit smaller, a bit bigger, a bit like everything can start to get an extra dimension to it.
Every
So
every painting at least looks two ways.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
man, looking at a blank,
Are
I
you tunnel or are you looking like this? Because when you're really looking like this, you're saying a whole other thing. It could be a pure realistic photograph painting. And if you're looking at it the other way, it's something else. It's kind of freaking fascinating.
I think that the most uh, full way that someone can look at a painting is the same as the most narrow way that someone can look at a painting.
Yeah, yes, yes. Yeah.
So
When
when
you're all there.
when coming back to what you asked me, definitely having those kind of more complex compositions let me to have, maybe to go into just a little bit of a deeper space that can show me another layer, because the painting have gave me another aspect of being.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And some of my paintings, just to even go further, like a ridiculous human. Some of my paintings, I paint them halfway upside down. So actually, I want them in a gallery. I want them to rotate.
Hmm.
Um, and I also, my gallery idea was because I got so involved with sound years before I even knew I was going to be involved with music. I wanted to set up a gallery space. It would be technically, it would be 13 private gallery spaces. And you walk into them, you have or maybe three rows of three, and sound pads. And what I would have in this gallery space is ambient music generated in each of the compartmentalizations. A 13 pointed gallery with 13 paintings. Some of them rotate. Um, and the sound pads, when you're further away, you have distant ethereal noise. When people crawl and walk closer to look at details, the tempo and the music gets stronger, and sometimes the colors change. I have a cool idea for fucking an art space, but to create a pure synesthetic experience to where pressure plates would create sound and variety in each of these spaces as you look at artwork, and just to immerse people, even if they're sober, so to create something different like this. Uh, but that man, what do you do with that shit, right? I mean, who'd I gotta? What did I do? Rob a bank? I mean, damn.
Having all those kind of thought really comes back to what I said, that hypothetically, if a person could think every kind of a thought that he had, he won't have any other questions that he have to think about. And it really comes back to also mathematics or to any other kind of invasion, not invasion, like a new thing, invention. So you had that thought because of some kind of experiences, and that thought have took you into a new experience. So you can start to really have experiences using your previous experience that possibly can take you into finding the solution to your needs, to your wants. Because if you now think about this and you think about other aspects that you have in life, and things can start to click up, and then suddenly an opportunity came to you because you saw its potential to actually be made, and maybe we will see you having this amazing gallery.
Dude, I mean, it's like, first thing I thought is like, who do I think? I was like, oh, um, uh, fucking Dance Dance Revolution. Of course, that's how my mind got there, man. It's all about music and flowing and dancing, you know? Shoot. Man, you know what? You would be surprised some of the crazy cool inventions I've concocted. um, and this is because of music and art, and it's because I'm not as active as I want to be, but I still have a little life. I'm still painting. I'm just really, if you've noticed, I am not productive. I've been posting a lot of old stuff, and I've been focusing on really new avenues of uh, of invention ideas. And what I do with them, I don't know. Sometimes I find myself on a psychic wavelength cling to people like an Elon Musk or a Rogan or somebody with some money and clout. Because, like, I just assume, well, if I try hard enough, maybe, fuck praying to a higher power. I feel like I'm better off trying to connect with other people who have access to those resources. Does that sound crazy? Do you ever feel like when you pray that you're better off praying to the human people versus some mystical thing in the sky?
Whew, pain is a big subject here. I see in this context two kind of prayings. That one kind is a logical thinking into a possibility, and this is one aspect, because if you want to pray for something, or not even praying, if you really put your will into it by knowing that it's possible, you need to have a clear vision of the path and every single step of it. The more you know every single step, the more likely that you will be able to walk that path, as kind of a person that even if he will take off his eyes, because he knows his path so well, when he will come in front of you, he can tell you what you are wearing because he sees you in the path that he is walking. And another kind is the actual is a funny word to use here, but another kind is the pure bliss of saying thanks to what led you into having even this kind of thoughts and desires. So when I think it really comes down to, on one aspect, you have praying as a logical aspect, and the other one is not really praying for something, is actually just saying thanks to what led you to the possibility to have a logical uh, use of whatever is happening here that leads you into being
Oh,
more happy or having.
oh, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, I see what you mean. It's like, are you just Yeah, I mean, there's no shame. People need to feel loved. They need to feel that they're not alone. There's a reason sometimes you just need love and praise. And then there really is the act of trying to promote something useful.
Even the
Something you're like, I fell upon some shit, and all I know is a few fucking crazy things that have happened in my life, which let me know that people hear me better than I realize. And as humbling as it is, this is where I'm like, I don't think we disagree that telepathy is there. It is.
potentially.
I think I'm not going to indulge too far down this path, but when I was particularly a guy who was alone, looking for just some kind of connection, you know what I mean? I was, like I said, far more insecure, far more weird in my ways. Anyways, it must have been 13 years ago, 2016. No, actually, sorry, 10 years ago. What am I talking about? Um, I made this painting, and so here's the deal: is every day I was listening to Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly." I
Mhm.
was listening to it as a ritual, along with a bunch of other punk rock and hip hop albums. And I was painting this painting right here. Um, this one right here. It's called "God Damn and God Bless." It was
Okay.
it was this, and then I did this one recently. So this was the original from 2016, and then this was the other one I did. You would be happy to know that if you feel it, it's like highly textured. Like the lighting's off. Everything is like very thick paint. I painted over the whole thing. So this isn't the only painting where this sort of weird things happened. But I painted it listening to Pimp a Butterfly in 2015, and I named the painting God Bless and God Damn. Now, that was summer. I'm sorry, 2016, summer. By 2017, Kendrick Lamar released an album called Damn. And if you listen to Damn, he points out some crazy shit. You might think I'm a completely deluded asshole, but I was religiously listening to this shit every fucking day. And in that album, he says, "God damn you, God damn me, God damn us, God damn we, God damn us all." And then he has another song about God blessing America. And then he even has another song that pertained directly to my own weird experiences with my family at the time, where I was like, "You will not take me out of my fucking element." And then he comes out with this song, "You won't take me out my element. Nah, you won't take me out my element." At the same time, during that same summer, I made this painting called "Bear Down and Bear the Threshold."
Oof.
Now, the band Tool, they came out with an album uh in 2019, and Invincible, they were talking about bearing down. I did this other painting I sold to a dude from Singapore the day their album got released about calling voices that fell in line and suit with these musicians who I was religiously devoted to. Like, if they didn't hear me in some dream space, I have no idea. So because of this, in my current days, with the exploration of what music and thinking for long periods of time have given me. I oftentimes I find myself praying to people. I talk to I try to commune and bother, say, a guy like Elon Musk about my power plant idea. It's a whole gymnasium that revolves around generating electricity. You know, I go to painting companies in my head. I talk about my paint gun idea. It's like an impasto brush that's like electrically rigged with a backpack that has um, a front end where you can kind of dictate the ratio of color, the amount of thickness, velocity that you press with here, a solvent element. It's like a whole contraption that's almost like scuba gear equipment so that you can paint thick paintings that digital painters can't do on their own. That this provides an efficient way in which people can produce these highly thickly, gloppy stuff with far more efficiency. And that's because I learned it from being on the road, playing with little paintbrush guns with water in it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. Or the centrifugal guzheng. It's like, it's a harp that's circularly, it's like aligned in a circle like this. And instead of sitting there, you're strapped to a harness, gliding through the air, and you can flow around a circle of strings, punching off walls and making music like a cool acrobatic feat. I thought about for my music Rolodex 2039, which amplifies a full choir from whistlers to throat singers to R&B to vocalists of all kinds to create a choir where everyone from every culture, every musical genre can collaborate and reproduce musical beatboxers as well, everyone that can vocalize a sound and create something with pure vocation. um, I thought about a new system of American government called the United Social Democracy of the New American Republic. I thought about weird centrifugal swimming pool. So you know how like swimming they always go off walls back and forth like a rectangle? I thought how cool would it be if we had Olympians swimming in like a circular type of crazy like maze where they couldn't push off walls anymore. That could be a cool way to express. Like some of them are trivial. They have nothing to do with, oh, I want to overthrow the government. Just, I've been sitting here thinking of stupid inventions, of vibofabric hardware. I thought about a line of lingerie that has tiny bullet bearings so that if you're in a long distance relationship online, instead of sex robots, that you can actually learn through fabric hardware as well as fiber optics. Like basically, you can watch a subject, someone say a cam relationship or a long distance relationship. You can watch how your pressure points over a body are reflected through color, but that you're actually delivering sense because within all the straps are these little vibrating rubber balls that can hit meridians and give people a whole new way to express sexuality from a distance or yeah, man. I mean, shit, dude.
Reminds me a Black Mirror episode when two people are in space and they have like a robot that they get into like um a pod, and then their subconsciousness, or no, their consciousness is like transcend into a robot body in Earth because they are in a mission in space. And yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, the ideas are all over. So many possibilities.
I know I kind of milled over them so fast, but do some of those seem feasible? Did you like?
I think that usually inventions come from the not only from the desire, also from the actual need, and the actual need have levels of it. Some of the things that you want are, let's say, like the paint gun is a desire for something to make, in a way, your life easier. But to really make it as a thing, you have two options, and one option is to be really diving deep into how you make it and then find people to uh, invest in it, and the other is to want it enough so you will go and do something about it. But and this is really the thin line between having an idea and actually having a product.
Here's the deal: is the reason I set this all up. You're right. You're not wrong. Was the fact that I realized where I put my psyche when I was busy making my artwork for people. I hope I can sell my, like I said, some of my paintings, 100% donation. If it's for the Angels of LA, for people of Standing Rock, for people in Southwest Asia, for people against police brutality, or for orphans of LA. Like I have paintings for all these causes that I like want set up for these things. Okay, fine, good for me. Now, the thing is that I realize I'm just one guy. But due to my passion, I realized that some of these artists whom I look up to have literally pulled words out of my mouth and put them into albums after I was sitting there doing my thing, right?
But
Now, check it out. Check it out. What the final thing I'm saying here? It is hypothetical. It's not even that I'm entitled to anything. I'm more in the camp of all these ideas. I pray every day, milling on them to people that are real people, and I'm saying, steal my fucking ideas. I don't want them. I just want to see them happen, straight up.
before you said that as artists, people have the same kind of connection to a database. Yeah, I think you have said of ideas. So I think this is really about how this kind of a database is connected through time, and a lot of people can feel something, and this is what push the actual process of someone to actually make it is because of that so many people thought about it or about the importance of it to the world. And you can look at in mathematics when two people at different sides of the world have thought about the same idea at the same
Mhm.
time because of how much it was, I guess, important, not by only their view but by the view of the world itself, of how much it is important for humankind that it needs to be out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. And I think there's a matter of patience there. And but you know what? I think it would be sad for someone to say they feel stupid or crazy for not throwing their ideas out there. Like that's sad, you know? Like you want to go like okay, some people want to go pray to some fucking higher power. It's like, please God, give me everything. Fucking blah blah blah. I'm like, please, fucking fellow humans, save me from some more of this fucking bullshit we have to deal with every day. I'd rather sit there, share my interviews, or share my ideas with people that actually exist. You know why I got so on this tip, dude? It wasn't just my anecdotal proof, but I was watching a documentary about Jim Carrey talking. He was praying. You know, Jim Carrey is an interesting character. He grew up living as a Canadian guy in a trailer park home. He used to have to shit in a bucket as a kid. And he grew up poor as fuck. And one day he mentioned he was like on a beach. He was praying to his hero, Andy Kaufman. Just please, make me successful. Make me famous. And he says Andy responded to him, in that moment. And when I thought about all these weird coincidences where I was so steeped in my artwork to, like a spiritual level, right? Where I was like, dude, I mean, doing fucking like bloodletting sacrifices. You know what I mean? Like very devoted to my fucking thing. I mean, when I saw these responses from the media sphere, when I saw the album Damn come out, when I saw Fear Inoculum come out, and I saw there is some weird. I somehow hooked up to the node, at least on a spiritual level. Like, I'm not the first asshole to say, don't you take me out of my fucking element. You won't take me out of my element. You won't take me out of my element. I was literally raving a year before to my cousins, do not take me out of my fucking element, And I was listening to Kendrick every day. It's like when I think about the fragility of our like psychic network, and I realize, man, I could sit there, I could like anyone can sit there bombard one fucking human all your life if you fucking like really if that's all you fucking care about, fine. But like I found it better in the zeitgeist of trying to get inventions out there, trying to do something because I had it good. I had it good. What I wanted to see is a world that doesn't like sit there to benefit just me. But when I saw those weird coincidences, I felt I felt like maybe I am crazy, but there's an objective craziness when it comes to talking to people, man. In your mind's eye, like there's a responsibility almost. Have you been there? Felt like fuck. I was harping on this one person. I'm gonna leave them alone now, even if it's opposite of good.
I think that it is important to see that what you say will be helpful to a person, and if it doesn't have anything good to say to them,
Right.
even just being with them can be a very nice thing.
I mean, I guess it's like okay. I feel like I'm coming off with too much conviction, and I, I wanted to share one really fucking cool thing with you regarding tangible reality and things that most people would probably feel they shouldn't like talk about. And so I've I've been exposed to psychedelia from a young age. I know the difference between things that the mind can kind of present to you under the effects versus being sober. And this has to do with beings outside of planet Earth and telepathic bridges that do not know the limits of space and time. But please go ahead. I'm
I
listening.
think that where responsibility comes, it really takes us to the start of our conversation, is that when you start to go into an unknown space, you make a path. It doesn't matter where you make it because it's unknown, so you got to make a path somewhere. In the
Right.
way, you can see what of your steps were good not only for you, and what of your steps were good to you but weren't so good to others. And of course, you learn the steps that aren't good for you to not do them again. This is like the basic understanding. But after not doing what's not good for you, you start to see what of your steps are not good for people. And it's not people in general, it's of course to people in context. So when you have this kind of conversation, definitely you can share with me thoughts and I can share what I understand and what I share with this. But I know that some people can hear this conversation and it will be just too spooky because there are too many unknowns. And to be able to speak about unknown aspects as a known thing really needs to be as accurate as it can be. So I can say that when we talk about responsibility, if what I can say isn't feels for me, or I will be more clear that if what I'm saying is in controversial words, I will try to avoid it in some environments and usually in total. And this is really come back to another aspect of our talk, of some of my conversation with myself, of really trying to take the real meaning of experiences to describe them in words that won't give the wrong connotation because because it have been said in a controversial way. And I
Ah,
and I will give a very specific, very specific way that there is a kind of view that people like to see, and seeing that we are all one, let's say. A lot of people can say, ah, definitely we are all one. Some people can say we are not one. And some people can say this is a topic that I am not wanting to touch. It has too many unknowns for me, and I am not really want to get it more clear at the moment because of how controversial it can be with so many unknowns in it.
yeah.
And I remember at one conversation with a friend, I said it as just a common thing in relation to what we spoke about. And the moment I said it, I can see how many unknowns ran in his mind. I was like, but that wasn't what I wanted to say. And it really took me into my thinking with me about what I think and feel and want to say, that I don't really think that we are all one at the essence of what one means. And because of that, saying that we are all one is just a controversial way to say what I really mean. But if I really want to say it more clearly, I can say that everything is part of, like, when I'm saying all is an umbrella that holds everything in it by definition. It's not something that I say we are all one. I'm saying that the concept of the term all holds in it everything. Because
Right. Right.
if it wouldn't, you couldn't say that that is all, because you can say, ah, this is all except this. So when I'm saying all with this. Ah, this is all, but it doesn't contain the space between the things. No, no, no. When I'm saying all, I mean also this. So this is a very pleasant way to look at it because it doesn't have we are all one. and what is this one, and how to view one. But if you're saying all, then it becomes very so abstract that it is logical, but at the same time, it's not really controversial because this is by definition what it means.
Okay, so dude, well said. If we are all one, I still have to wipe my fucking asshole after I shit. I still have to wipe my asshole after I shit. Guess what? We're all one. It's not all pretty.
But
This
I
is true.
am I am not you in the aspect that you are you and that I am I. I am you in the aspect that all is all and we are all part of all. So, in some kind of a very abstract way, there is a connection that is connected to everything by definition of the term all. But it's not
And
one as the term that I am one and you are one. We are two people. We are not a one person.
exactly, dude. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I think existentially, um, that's the beautiful thing, which is that, well, this is the nature of reality and disagreements, um, and this is where I'm telling you what's up is that we are not all one, but but there are nuances to reality. A lot of the times, maybe you call yourself a born again Christian, okay? And I don't mean that to castigate people. Oh, you have been absolved of your past sins. Just walk through the thing and God forgives. Everything's honky dory. Your life has been saved by some random fucking figure from 2000 AD, whatever, right? We're all one. You're all saved and absolved. We're all one in the fact that we have to face the human condition. We have personal needs, communal needs. We shit, we consume stuff. Even if you're a fucking vegan, most of the time half the fucking industry is chopping birds up to fucking pick your fucking soybeans in fucking the Amazon jungle, whatever. You drive your fucking car, it's eating oil, leading to this thing, that thing. It's like to say we're all one, for some people, it's all about no guilt. Ah, I have no guilt left, no remorse left. And this is all about over relating, like you're saying. You know, we all think this. We're all the same. We all everyone has my opinion, and we're all one. We must all be as fucking good as me. You know, like I say it not with too much resentments because but those are the logical fallacies. That versus thank God we at least got one fucking head and a digestive system. If you're lucky, you got two fucking hands and two goddamn feet and a working goddamn fucking piece of meat, otherwise known as genitalia. I mean, like there are those basic things. Um, any thoughts?
You born healthy. Beside that, any other thing is a bonus.
Amen. And when I talk about these higher ideas of telepathy, it's that it has little to do with agreement versus being just what impossible potentials
Agreement in what sense?
Well, like, no, I mean, in the sense that, like, like, what's good for someone else may not be good for me. While, like, we are all born innocent kids, our worlds form whom we have become. And I say it like tongue in cheek, almost, because I think it's like normal, like egoic habit of people to think everyone feels the way you do. Even like, like, if you've ever been in a serious relationship with another, you when you're caught in the romance and sway of it all, you just assume that this person judges the merits of love like me. It's a highly subjective issue, and some people get shattered. They realize, oh my God, your definition of love was nothing like mine. And I thought it was because we were attracted and having a good time. I just assumed. Yeah, and those thoughts can devastate somebody. Um and obviously, it's this this is the beautiful thing, was that, like,
You
you
need to
know
mute your phone a bit. The sound is
oh, okay. So like, the craziness about this dude is, one beautiful thing about um music that doesn't have words, art that doesn't have words. It speaks to a more universal language that doesn't share the same divisions as all these issues that we are speaking of. You know what I mean? That just sing colors reflect our music that kind of forms those things, that actually it's a universal love language. Art and music speak to everything outside of all this fucking relatability, you know?
ah well, it's funny to say it about art and music and looking at them at two different aspects, and it's good because it gives us two kinds of perception. That one is by hearing, there's one is by viewing, and it almost even give all of the possibility of emotions, because in the saddle of music composition one can really make a feeling. And if one can really make a feeling, if the sound, when we think about music, then every feeling that I feel, even lifting my head and holding something, could be looked and seen as a kind of a musical composition in a very abstract way. Even if we take the concept of waves in a deeper level and saying that hypothetically every wave have a sound, but you can't hear possibility at a certain level sound. So every movement that is happening in space is in nuances in the sounds of the moment, and in relation you have what you see, and what you see is just fast enough sounds that have got into a form that is not collapsing and having a physical shape. So looking at life as a different thing from sound and visual art is like just a sub form of possibility of viewing life itself by like you view art and music. Like art and music is just, one can say abstraction and one can say complexity. uh,
Indeed. Indeed. I do think, to your point. So I think when we speak linguistically, it has so many merits. Otherwise, we can't be here. Either that, or we would be making optical music and lights, all primordial, without all this extra. You know that there are degrees that relate to, say, if you're actively making love with another human, you are transcribing your own individual experience with another in a very visceral, direct way. And like music and art would be a bit of a degree. And I would say linguistics and words are actually a little further apart, that there is a gradient. Am I wrong that you're suggesting, like, when you're just in your own reality, no music, no art, no language, and you are just you? That's like the purest form of perception, but you have no expression.
I'm saying rather than that, because what if we were looking at it like this, it's only an abstraction of all the possible of human experience. If you take all of those aspects and having all your this pure expression or emotionally or purest perception. But when we do combine every possible perception, experience as a form of composition that have the combination of music and visual art, it only showing different nuances of compositions that have a secret of the viewer, that having many layers of rhythms just happening in front of him in every given moment. It's just a moment, and what is the meaning
Right.
of the moment? And then you have another moment, and another moment, and another moment, and it happened so fast that even my hand moving here is like almost an infinite amount of moments for it to be looking like this is smooth. But this is just like an infinite amount of moments that are happening, that having not only me in them, having so many other aspects, that every aspect is just a moment of potential of how the timeline is composing itself live in relation to how I view it. And this is really comes to the point of how much one experience can influence what will be the next moment that is happening. And it really comes to the very sudden look at psychedelics, where you have this shift between moments are falling apart and giving you this like continuous experience that can really took you into a moment that before any moment have set its place in front of you. This time that regularly you experience is like continuous infinitely fast motion have stopped, and you are there frightened because who are you without all of those moments holding everything that you know in place. So only by looking at life as you look at paint and music, you
Mm.
can really start to see how what we are experiencing is just an insanely fast moments that are falling and looking like they are reality, but in matter of fact, they are just what laying over our perception that giving us a sense of relation to every other thing because we don't see the bigger connection between all the aspects of the painting.
Okay, so here we are in this moment of what you're describing as a beautiful now, experiencing the now, the past, the future, the present, everything happening simultaneously.
But I'm
Impossibly to
not saying
stop
that we
them.
are experiencing it. I'm saying that we are in a way in it. To say that we are experiencing it is to
What's the difference to
oh,
you?
the difference is pretty big in my opinion because to really experience something is not to experience half of it. It's not to experience third of it or fifth, or it's to experience all of it. And when I say all of it, I'm not even meaning to also experience what you experience. But if we are having in the term all the possibilities of subdivisions of all, that all is just the representation of all the possible subdivisions. When
Yeah.
I'm looking about the subdivision of me, am I really experiencing all the subdivision of me? Or am I just here experience moment here, moment there? Sometimes I see more, sometimes I see less, because to see the even the whole subdivision only of me, in my opinion, should be a much more continuous experience of experiencing that I experience the whole subdivision of me. And right now, I experience from moments.
At some point, we're sitting here. We're not on a megalithic dose. When you are there, the word, okay, when you are in the thick of, say, a truly psychedelic experience, the worst thing to do would be to do everything you just did and said. Rather, just be without the constant guy commenting and telling you what to think about, what to do, versus just being. And this is the gold of true improvisational making and artwork, is to get away from this devastatingly analytical mind. In hindsight, when we are sitting here reflecting, trying to quantify, why did I see this? Why did this happen to me? It is good as a afterthought to have this hypo theoretical psychoanalyst go all out, speaking about, well, if I'm just in the moment, then I'm experiencing the thing and going with it regardless of a person. And it's just the word to say experience, just to be present is all I would imply.
Controversial.
It's like, when you look back on a weird experience, maybe I had a couple trips where I lost the ability to vocalize. I couldn't speak anymore. Like, what happened, man? I was too insecure, man. I was worried my girlfriend's hitting on this person. I was worried about being abandoned or left out by these people. You know what I mean? It's like you figure it out in hindsight, and it's important to take those steps back and stuff. But Yoni, I wanted to say When it comes to like truly being there, and this is something I will never, I don't expect to ever experience again in my life. And it was so my first experience with psilocybin, 13 years old, very harsh. I didn't try it again till I was in 4 or 5 years older with my first girlfriend. We had great times together, listening to Floyd, just being in the moment, man. You know what I mean? Experiencing music and synesthetic experience where our bodies like melted together. What up, kitty pie? And And it was a really they were really wholesome experiences where I could lay down whatever inferiority or bullshit delusions I had. I laid them down. And, even though things hadn't worked out with us, I was still young and happy. And I remember I was hanging out in San Francisco. I was still living at home here in LA, but a lot of my friends went up to live in the Bay Area, and we decided to go visit them for a mushroom trip. And we were all just so young and happy, dude. We were on cloud nine. That day, we ate the mushies. We were partying, listening to like all the classic rocks, Zeppelin, Floyd, The Doors. And we went out to this spot on this lake in San Francisco, and we were just looking up the stars, just in love with life. No one thinking a thing. Our friends to our left, our right, everyone was good, dude. We were at peace. And we were just staring at these damn stars. And they came so alive to us. They became these celestial beings that, like, they literally had personalities to us. And it was like a Friday or it was a Friday night. We hung out Saturday, Sunday. We decided we're going to go drive back home to Los Angeles, where we're from. We were in San Francisco, Northern California, back to Southern California. And it was me, a bunch of our friends that were passed out in the back of our car. It was 3 a.m. in the morning, me and my buddy. He was in the driver's seat. I was in the passenger seat. We were listening to Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Really great Beatles album. Just good vibes. We weren't that fucked up. We were smoking a little weed. And I'm driving down. And remember, this is about 2000, 2009, about 2009, 2010. No iPhones. We're driving, and it's from SF to LA. It's black farmlands, no lights, little two-way road. I'm driving down. We're listening to the Beatles, smoking a little weed, and I notice in the corner of my eye, I see a light. I'm like, what are street lights doing out here? I look over, and it's moving. It's moving like a fly. It's changing directions, and we're driving along, and I'm like, yo, Samir, you see this fucking thing? This thing's moving like this. I'm like, maybe it's a remote control RC helicopter. We're driving. As we get closer, I realize, oh, this thing's really far from us, hundreds of yards away from us. As we get closer, it's moving, a swooping motion, stopping and going. And when we get closer, I see it has three lights in a line, not a triangle, in a line. And it's swooping around. And I'm like, yo, Samir, what the fuck is this thing? We're driving. As we're driving, it stops on a dime. hundreds of meters away from us, and boom, it shoots. As we're driving towards the road, it stops and it hovers above our head, and it has a stealth body, and I can see the iridescent colors of space behind it, but it made no sound. And it was like, I don't know, maybe 50 meters above us. It covered the whole road, and me and my friend start crying our eyes out. And years later, it must have been 6, 7 years later, I decide I worked too hard painting. I made myself crazy. I was smoking too much. And so I took a break. I was in bed going through withdrawals from all the stuff I was doing. And then I saw these two big beings. They looked like frogs, but they had little glowing dots, bioluminescent freckles all over their face. And they were laughing at me. And then about a year ago, I was looking up star systems, and I found out Sirius B is about 66.5 billion years light billion light years away from Earth, and that they're a proposed galaxy that may harbor some sort of sentient life, and that it was a binary star system with a metal planet, and that they believe amphibious vehicles or amphibious creatures came from this planet. Now, if I go all the way back to the beginning of this story, all I was doing was enjoying good vibes, looking at stars with my friends on mushrooms. But on a clairvoyant vibe level, I do believe that somehow, with our just benevolent, pure way of who we were at that point in time and space back then, not spoiled old people like now, but at the time, I think we shot out like a huge beam of energy, kind of like the opposite of abduction, where the light comes down, that we shot out a vibe that went above, and it brought that weird anti-gravitational spaceship over the freeway. That was sober, you know what I mean? A little weed, not high as fuck, but like sometimes it's like when we get into like the psycho spiritual of just trying to find a reason to live, um, we may be not actually also like seeing like the actual physical potentials of like what could be a planet Earth if we weren't fixated on, the massacres and messes of our days, and like all these ways that like I don't know, instead of collaborating, people are divided. But that's my UFO. This is my true UFO experience. And it's cool. I experienced it with another human, and he'll tell you the same thing, which is nice to have somebody, so you're not alone when you see those things.
Mm.
Pretty gnarly shit, huh?
It's always nice to have someone that also experiencing what you have, so you can like you experience it. Yeah, I experienced it too. Oh, okay, and
And
like
yes, and
real time.
yeah, and you know what? I think all that stuff, it really came out of a place of just not even, we weren't out there, we want to see aliens, we are not those people, but we were just out there in love with the universe. If you can be that thing on psychedelics and just fall in love with the stars and just, like that's the purest thing to be, outside of all this analyzing ourselves, which we do so much.
It really comes to the point. how much love can one feel? Is there limits to feeling love? And
Mm.
comes comes back to, is it all, or can you feel more? Just, just a simple question. Can you feel more? You have to ask it to be able to check if you can or if you can't. And
Mm.
if you can't, you feel that you can't feel more, so definitely you feel. And if you definitely feel, it will be weird to say that you can't feel more, you know? So
Yeah, I mean, man, I mean, you know what? It's also about uh how old are you, by the way?
25.
Oh, okay, okay. You know, sometimes I think you when you come to your physical limitations and you get older, you start to realize, oh, I'm not allowed to be that kid who I believe called Nomo people. You know, I mean, like, I really believe I came in contact with the people who seeded life on planet Earth based on Terence McKenna and stoned ape theory. I truly believe, at least in my youth, I had the privilege in space. I wasn't so tainted in a war zone. I wasn't like my cousins in bomb shelters. I was able to be here and be a free, innocent creature, just fucking enamored with life, you know, regardless of earlier experiences. But in that moment, none of that shit matters. You are just in commune with something so big and insanely beautiful, for better and worse, you know, because stars burn, you know, fucking. It's not all easy. It's not all easy.
you know, so when you had all those experiences and looking at your art, comes to a mind the question, is art a way to understand yourself, or is it a tool to express something that is too large to be contained internally?
I mean, man, they almost seem the same. They almost seem like, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are certainly experiences that are not a part of expressing myself there. So yes, so yeah, I think both are invaluable, and also, look, man, I had it too good. I want to make sure, you know, I can promote good things and, you know, make a couple dollars for people. You know, it's not to be king of the world, but I'm like, yeah, you know, it was kind of always my mission. If you read my initial art statement, it's pretty much always been like, when all is said and done, from my internal to external experiences, like we'll have, how will I help the earth as time spirals forward? If I can drop a few uh, drops of love in the bucket of life before I die, then I feel like I served a purpose, man. You know, like that's cool. You know, because you know, a lot of guys, they have to come up looking for themselves. You know, I've got family members who grew up little child laborers selling gum on the street corner. You know what I mean? Thank God I didn't have to fucking go through that shit. So for me, coming from a place of at least some privilege, it was always like, no, I have art that is specifically to be donated. I've given away more paintings than I've actually sold, and I'm happy and prideful on that. My parents, fuck, they didn't want me to go to public school. They didn't want me to get a day job. They were like, no, that's what our parents did. That's why they died all young and fucked up. You know, like we've made privilege for you to not have to do the same thing that we had to do. And at best, I think it fuels three things: um, bigger ideas, alien sightings, hyperdimensional encounters, things that feel above and beyond what is or not as Ronald Feghali. Looking at my own interpersonality issues, I can look at any of these paintings, sometimes even these big macrocosmic ones, and I'll find a way to relate it to my own bullshit. And then the third strung is actually creating work that can be created into textiles, prints, selling the originals for various causes. I mean, I try to handle everything. You know, when it comes to people getting along, usually uh, ecology is the best route. If it's about environmental friendliness, most people can get along with that. So that's what I realized. Oh, that's usually the best platform, you know, try to get the word out. But here's the crazy, insatiable thing, dude, all those details and playing with complex forms, like I love that shit. I indulge my selfish side when it comes to playing with these massively complex puzzles. How can I make something look overwhelming with like four paintings and yet maybe you can still enjoy it, you know? And sometimes I'm convinced that people will have more fun seeing my work in person than on Instagram sometimes.
Definitely.
Right? I think for most people, that should if you're an artist who's scared to show people the work in person because you photoshopped and made shit look good, I mean, I can imagine some of these people are a little bit like that too, though. Who cares about them?
There are things you still try to figure out when making art or
Hmm.
through your art.
Tell me.
I'm curious to know what you think about it. Like, is it pure exploration right now for the sake of the fun of exploration, or there are actually specific things that you are on the verge making a path to understand using your art? Or is it some kind of another thing? Could be, I don't know what could be
Yeah.
more, but could be.
No, I think at this point, if I'm to reconsider the paintings that I'm currently invested in pursuing, um, so sometimes I think it's good to take time to do small projects. I have a friend who wants an album cover. I got to listen to his music and figure it out. And then on another trip years ago, I was backpacking, and I went to this hot spring with my friends. And this painting means a lot to me because it comes from two important places. On the one hand, all the people I went to the trip with got naked. I was not in the spirit of getting naked with everyone. So this is the blessing in disguise. Is they all go rejoicing, happy, free spirits, hippies, and I stay at base camp. And I had already ate my dose. They were tripping, I was tripping, but I was like, I think I'm just gonna stay here. I don't want to be the one guy who doesn't want to get naked, and I just want to be alone. And so I ended up alone at the camp. It was weird. Um, I remember I drank a little wine. I ended up on my own, doing my thing, and it was surrounded by redwood trees. And I remembered I closed my eyes, and while I was tripping, I descended into the ground of the earth. And so the redwood trees growing upwards, I saw them growing downwards in reverse. And they all had these geometric faces and beautiful orange, yellows, reds, browns. And I saw them as these like living hyperdimensional entities underneath the earth's soil. And I always wanted to paint this. I have a painting I made to paint this. I haven't done it yet, but this is one of my painting ideas. I was like, I want to show that. And it takes a little bit of the weird ego to kind of fuck me up. Instead of hanging out, frolicking, and enjoying the sensuous earthly pleasures, I ended up doing this fucking weird dive into the earth's soil, you know? It's like cool. So that's one of my painting ideas. I have another one for the Philip K. Dick book Valis I started. I haven't finished yet. I have another one. They're very yeah, right now a lot of them are very specific projects based off old visions. A tool show vision. Um, yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I guess that's where I've been at. Yeah, I haven't been just abstracting experimental like that lately.
As a closing question, what would you like people that hear us and have been with us for such a long time, diving into the ins and outs of your work and music and the psych and so many sub stories, take from this conversation?
I mean, for one, there is no fucking shame about being a single fucking human with billions of us around. There's nothing new under the moon and sun, you know. But I like to point out the fact that I pride myself on those dark points, not for the sake of pity or sympathy, but truly things that have taken me to higher transcendental places have often been the hardest things to come to terms with, to accept dark places. Part of that is like when you're actually looking at artwork and you're being very hypercritical, that the same thing is happening, and that you shouldn't eliminate your expression of your own psychic ineptitude and understand, well, that's also why I'm working this way. But I don't want to be obsessed. You know, sometimes it's okay to be imperfect. You don't have to make everything precise. You know, some paintings speak volumes, and you look up close and they're not as surgically tight. If you can be that guy, by all means, as long as you're not hating people. Closing thoughts about any of this stuff. Um, is maybe people aren't as hard on themselves as me. I don't know how much I can empathize with other people in this respect. Um and basically the best fucking thing you can do is listen to as much music as you possibly can making art, and usually that'll get to where you gotta go. I think so. And Yoni, for you and for anyone else, dude, I I really, really, really hope people can take time to enjoy some of my tunage. Um I mean, I'm only really halfway done with what I hope to be able to produce. But my Rolodex has been pretty fun. My first album's called A1 Bum. Coincidentally, I did it. It was 101 minutes long. Otherwise known as 1 hour and 41 minutes. My second album, Second Going, which is very theatrical. I've literally formalized a claymation video for one of those tracks on that album, and then Second Going coming soon. My second full length album is what I say two dicks one album instead of discs, because coming soon created anime weird ass workshop. It's a bit pervy and sexualized. Second going coming soon. My third album is called Ehat. Three albums, three discs. My fourth album is called For All with the four all. It's four albums, four discs. My fifth album is five discs long. And sixth album is only six tracks. Seventh is 13 tracks. Um, and I really think that even if you're not up on your feet in painting, uh, that if you are to just chill out with your eyes closed and listen to my music, even if you're a little bit under the effects, if you're not, great. I think a lot of people have that ability to transcend and meditate, and that there's a lot of good stuff for people to reflect on from every genre that I've come to fathom has just come just from the pure heart and soul. There's jazz, hip hop, lots of drumming, electronics, and uh, I just landowolf.bandcamp.com. I had another question. I did have a question for you, Yoni. On your banner, what does that say in Hebrew? It's like the like on your is
Hmm?
no, I'm sorry, on your Instagram. I see like sometimes you do podcasts speaking Hebrew, correct? What does it say on your what does that say?
Hmm. Usually it's a Saitok, which is the name of the Saitok,
Okay.
and when it is in Hebrew, it just says the name of the podcast in Hebrew. When I have the show in English, that is Infinity Spaces, and
Okay.
where we are at now, and I have the show in Hebrew, which is called Merchavim Ensofim, which is Infinity Spaces, just in Hebrew.
Cool.
Yeah,
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I thought maybe you had like some kind of incantation, you know. I don't know, man. I wish I knew I fucking wish I knew Arabic. My God, I'm so annoyed.
Never too late to study more languages.
You know what? You know what's weird though? One time, when I was a kid, I never used to get my spelling test correct. One time I spelt it correct, but I was writing right to left,
Hmm, hmm,
and I spelt it correct writing right to left.
funny.
Isn't that like it's like epigenetics, like your brain knows something, or you see your
Muscle
parent.
memory from the past.
Yeah, yeah, some shit like that, man. Um, uh, Yoni, this has been so good. I honestly want to talk to you more, man.
We will
I'm not done
definitely
yet.
have another conversation in the future, like we had in the past, and it was amazing speaking with
Have you
you.
But I was curious though. Have you tried to transcribe your visions,
In what way? In what sense?
like with visionary art? You like it. You look at it. Like, have you tried to, maybe paint your dreams
Yeah,
or
definitely. I have many paintings, hundreds, close to 1,000 at the moment.
shoot? I look at too many artists. I'm trying to like even right now. I'm totally not remembering. Man,
More,
isn't that cool that there's just like the thing is, man, at some point, anyone who loves making art is gonna make art. When you see like how many stupid like monsters, oh yes, you do some cool digital art. This is true.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Also,
yeah.
go back. I do art for many years now. If you will see, you will
Yeah,
my
yeah.
older.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see. I like this yellow and red hexagram. That's really cool. Oh, so these aren't digital.
Mm-mm. Most of them ain't digital.
Oh man, good for you.
Yeah,
Oh.
you can see one
Oh,
also
dude.
on the table.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Oh man.
definitely all of them are
You know,
just showing my.
no shade against digital art though. I mean, really, like it has its function. You know what? I wanted to share with you my last invention. Okay, so you know how so many I like AI art. What about you?
Usually, it lack an aspect in the composition that have the touch of a human being.
Valuable point.
I don't have anything bad to say about it in general. You can see some wonderful AI stuff. Definitely like very very high quality and nice stuff. But when they're usually high quality, you can see that they are. I'm not gonna say too precise, but they are based on pure preciseness. And if you will see art that is supposed to imitate a human touch, you will see, not even by seeing, you can get a feel that it's not a human made it. Something in the depth, in the touch.
Right. Like for me, I don't even go. I don't dare to go so crafts person. I actually I see them more as daily information, and they have a major responsibility to say, I didn't slave for hundreds of hours to make this for you. This is only for your wisdom or an idea. And when it comes to like digital art, you can do amazing things, worlds within worlds, like Android Jones types or any of these other juggernauts that are really in the photo lab versus AI. But what this inspired in me in part was a couple things. Are you a fan of like anime?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you like that movie Paprika?
Haven't seen it.
Okay, but you've seen the movie Inception, right?
Um, I know it. I'm not sure if I have saw it.
Okay. Well,
I've
anyways,
get a lot of recommendation to see it. Could be that I saw it sometime on cable
yeah.
TV.
I think
But
I think they stole the okay, Inception was a big Hollywood blockbuster talking about using a head module to help you with dream time. And so in Inception, it gets used as a tool of economic espionage and people in the real world fighting for stuff. Paprika is a movie from 1993 that predates it that I believe created the movie Inception. Point is, I was thinking about being a guy who, for years, was an artist who wasn't paying attention to his body. That I actually, thinking I'm doing something good, working so hard, is that I was actually hurting myself. I stopped sleeping enough. I started, Yeah, painting. I wouldn't sit for 12 hours, 24 hours a day sometimes, man. Like I've told you, I've had those moments where I completely broke down and just had to stop everything. Um, like that one painting I showed you. I was inhaling so much shit, man. I coughed a giant black ball one time from the tar that I collected in my lungs painting every day, for hours. And I thought about this interesting, unique new device. I call it the MEES, the Music Modulating Education System. And basically, like when you're listening to like your Spotify or Apple, and you're in a mind space, and literally the Apple player or the Spotify, it's putting music for you right now. Have you ever felt technology been so responsive to you? And you're like, wow, this song is perfect. How did they know?
Um, I'm not using Spotify or Apple Music, or
Or what about YouTube videos?
this is what I was exactly about to say, that YouTube knows pretty well my taste,
Mm.
and I'm super happy
Mhm.
with it because not even only YouTube, my Instagram algorithm, wonderful.
Yes. It's like they've learned how to read our minds, which is a beautiful thing.
Some people algorithm maybe sucks, but this is why the
No, they're
magazine is.
scared. They're scared, man. If you've gone and visited machine elves, technology. Technology.
When I'm saying sucks, because a lot of people can have a lot of content that is just average, and when I see stuff, average compared to who is the viewer, but when I see stuff that doesn't fit my choice of videos or reels or posts,
Right.
I will just click the three dots and say show less,
Straight
because
up.
I want him to know that that's not what working for me. And when I see something that is working for me, I engage intentionally. So the algorithm can also know, if you want my attention, this is what you need to give me to gain my time.
Yeah, man. So
So definitely algorithms, high quality mechanism.
and like these are the reasons why I am fixated on this idea. And this, like I said, it relates to helping stupid, greedy people like me. Instead of painting for 24 hours, say I had a headset and it was giving me music I love. Now, initially, the reason I came up with this idea was purely for entertainment. And I had thought, I have I have over 900 tracks. Each like prof each logic file has over 3 to 4 hours of music. I have so much music in my potential Rolodex. Now, if I had a system, so as a YouTube prescriber, you're not always the guy going for music. You're going for intellectual stuff, interviews. Am I correct? Th-
Um,
Things more
y-
relating to.
Rarely music. I
Uh,
rarely use
yeah.
YouTube for music. Yeah.
So okay, so this is primarily a hardware idea that comes with the efficacy of people like me who like to make art all day. So imagine you have a set of headphones on, and imagine that you had it hooked up to various neuroreceptors. So at the very basic level, this thing could track your pulse rate, tell you how many beats per minute you're working with when you work, regulating body temperature. At best, it can even read your brain waves. Are you adrenalized? Are you in an alpha state? Are you in a beta state, a theta state, a delta state, an omega state? Where is your psyche? And this is the cool part is like, okay, so because I had so much music, I was like, I want to find a weird segue. So this is like taking a music algorithm to the umpteenth degree. Say you're in the middle of a Tool song, saying, "Why can't we all be sober?" And then all of a sudden you're listening like like you hear a weird morph, and now you're listening to a perfect circle, saying, talking about Judith, fucking Maynard's mom or whatever. And then all of a sudden, with the ebbs and flows of your own psyche as you're creating, you create these meshes from 30 minutes of this favorite song to a minute of this favorite song to 5 minutes of that favorite song. And you're going through a sphere of a genre. Now, you may be a truck driver. You may be a person stocking groceries. You may be a painter like me, but the sphere of music is like this ever shifting amoeba, kind of like Akira, that old school anime where things just like meld into one another, like algorithms that give you. If you're listening to music like me all the time, like all the songs I hear, they're like messages for me. Now, this system is feeding you this opportunity to say, you know what? If all shit goes wrong, if someone is just so frustrated and miserable, driving a truck, painting a painting, lifting bricks, then it just goes to white noise and becomes static. But if you know how to go with the ebbs and flows of the ritualistic place you want to be creating in all day, you can become the fanboy, number one. Now you have used AI as a fanboy. Now I made a fucking set involving Tool, a perfect circle, and Pussifer that is purely subjective based off of my lived experience, worrying about my body regulations, taking time to ease, enjoying the ebbs and flows of this weird ass, like, chemical sound project to where, yeah, like things are melding into one another. You could be listening to Whitney Houston 1 second and then Metallica the next if you set your genres, that wide, you know what I mean? Like that's the music modulating education system, so that even your most basic working guy or person could become a fanboy. All of a sudden, you DJ'd, you made a mix. All you had to do was experiencing your life working. How many DJs would be pissed off at that shit? But you're just a fanboy, right? You're not sitting there doing all the nitty-gritties, but it's to give people who don't have a voice a way to express. And this is why I appreciate the AI, because not everyone was sitting there, since like a teenager making artwork.
Well, it comes back to the analogy of trees. Are you a tree? Are you a branch? Or are you a leaf? Doesn't matter.
You're
It's all part
you're
of.
right. You're right. Actually, it's humbling. It's humbling. You want to be a leaf and admit it? Fucking, that's respect.
And possi- possibility is in the analogy, you are a leaf as long as you are only influenced. The more that you are also an influencer in the field that you have been influenced to, you can become into being also an influencer until the
Yes.
point that you can be your own tree.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. There's no humble, there's no beginning humble enough to stop someone from realizing, what do you want? What are you doing, you know?
Part
You
of an
know?
ecosystem.
But don't you think that's cool to have an audio AI?
I
Audio
think
AI
that
is basically what
your
I'm
idea
going.
can be wonderful, and I think potentially the world is going into the path that in 10, 20 years max, I'm sure you will have something at least as cool as that.
Yeah, man. I look forward to those things, dog. I fucking I remember I was painting at Symbiosis. It was like 2016. I was painting this guy right over here, Etherhorn. Uh, that guy back there, the space one. And I remember a guy came up to me and he was a mechanical engineer. And I was just like, at some point, I was like, fuck, man. I wish I could just be a dude in a boardroom sometimes. Like, like, if I can just sit there, share my ideas with people that have the mathematical brain and smarts, like, can you do this? Can this get done? Like, like, that would be fucking amazing. Have you ever thought of some inventions?
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if I'm alone in this weird.
Hypothetically, I see a lot of possibilities. I'm trying to be really hands on my passions and do what I have to do into making my dreams fulfilled. So, in a way,
Well, you know what, dude? You know what, dude? I thought your shit was digital. I'm really impressed to see that they're analog. Um,
everything that I make digital, I can make analog. Every single thing.
there is something weird though. Maybe you can enlighten me. I'm not too good with digital. But how come I don't see much odd number? I don't see odd numbers in digital. It's always grids. It's always squares.
Odd numbers in what way?
Like seven pointed star, 9 pointed star, 11 pointed star.
I think
Um,
it's really in the eyes and touch of the composer.
it's not a computer limitation on a grid or something weird.
No, no, you can draw whatever you want. I fixate on my kind of composition through very specific reasons, and
Yeah.
for a reason I don't work with let's say a 7 pointed star. Not that I have anything against it, but this is just not part of my practice. But I know people that have done it and do it, and
It
like
will.
if you will look at Andre Jones, for example, well, man,
Oh,
whatever is happening there, it doesn't have any limitation of, let's say,
I
a
think,
square
dude,
grid.
Android's amazing, but still, I feel like a lot of his work is also confined to the grid, geodescent, fours, twos, sixes, eights. Um,
Nah,
I
if you
maybe I'm
work
wrong. Maybe I'm
if
wrong.
you work with a grid only, on the most tiniest uh, piece of the canvas, it's made at the end of the day by pixels, and pixels are just tiny cubes. But the moment that you have so many of them, you can do whatever you want, and the grid of the pixels themselves doesn't have any interference of the composition and use of odd numbers in the work. Because if you're doing very specific pixel art, then the pixels themselves have part in the art. But as long as you work in, I don't know,
I mean,
6,000 by 6,000 pixels of a canvas, you're free to do whatever you want.
word. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's like okay, like if okay, say okay. So say I have a 13 pointed form and it's I painted it at an elliptical, versus straight up. I can also Photoshop those forms and the digital would actually work with like it would adapt to my atypical geometrics, for example.
You can draw a circle,
Oh.
you can
Mm.
put a star in it, and you can duplicate it and put it wherever you want.
Either way, Yoni, when it comes down to it, man, um, uh, I love good digital artwork. I think you can get so absurd with it to a point where it transcends and becomes something amazing. But I think it takes a lot for a digital artist to be as fucking dope as any craftsperson and analog artist. It takes a lot, right? And I'm so happy to hear, to see your stuff, that you are actually doing that in person is great.